I am Alex Hough, a teacher on the BA Graphic Design course at Campbell College of Arts, and I specialise in the first year of the course. What I've noticed from my experience of teaching is that there is a disparity between the language that is used within the UAL grading criteria and how students are able to make this a useful implement in developing their practice. This has been made apparent both within assessment processes but also within summative tasks, such as critiques. From this, I have developed my project question. Does in-depth understanding of the UAL grading criteria and the terminology used provide support for learning for students? To begin exploring this issue, I need to start comparing the project briefs that I have written against the intended learning outcomes, then to the overall achievement indicators within the grading criteria. The purpose of this was to understand how these three aspects align to one another. It is apparent that perhaps part of the student's misinterpretation of the language used within the grading criteria is because there is an inconsistency of its application across these three areas. The next step I took was to carry out a focus group with a number of students within the first year and discuss with them in more detail the reasons why they might misinterpret the brief. Questions such as, what aspects of the grading criteria and how it is used is most unclear to you and why, and when preparing work for assessment, how closely do you follow the grading criteria? The results I gathered for this helped me to construct another series of questions that I put forward to two teaching colleagues on the course at Camberwell. Questions such as, within the general framework of constructive alignment, do you find the briefs that you set and how these briefs are communicated align clearly to the unit's intended learning outcomes, ultimately aligning to the descriptors within the marking criteria? Carrying out these three different areas of research as well as through key pedagogic theories, such as Peter Knight's dissemination of assessment for learning in higher education, as well as Jeanette Harris's thesis on developing a language for assessing creativity, has helped me in clarifying points at which students require more support through teaching. But it has made me realise inherent issues of aligning the language that is set up by the universities more explicitly within briefs. One teacher that I interviewed stated, now we have moved to using the assessment criteria almost exclusively for assessment, and the learning outcomes are more of a guide for staff developing and delivering the curriculum. Through analysing Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, verbs have been developed suited to a specific level of understanding. More importantly, what this presented as a whole was the concept of mastery, where students can only learn through doing, applying these verbs that are also present within the grading criteria to their practice. What I found, and what I'll be looking to change, is how I can consider a language of creativity as discussed by Jeanette Harris that responds to the terminology used within the grading criteria, but also develops upon Bloom's taxonomy. This will be made more explicit within the briefs, but also I'll be paying more attention to it within a teaching context. Most importantly though, is how I can realise the use of this language not only in response to their practical work, but in regards to their working methodology as a whole.